Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Bryan Yaninek. Bryan, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully I didn't butcher that last name. I'm terrible that way. So.
Yaninek is good, close enough.
But so I just want everybody to really get to know you as a man, as a professional, kind of go through the series of questions that every titan goes through, if that's okay with you.
I've watched, I think, all 42 or 43 episodes so far, so it's exciting.
That's awesome. I know there's a lot of people out there that are really excited about this one. So let's just dive right in. If that's cool, Bryan.
Absolutely, let's do this.
So I guess tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Gotcha. So this is my 23rd year in the mortgage business. So got in 1995, have seen just the craziest of changes. Back then it was kind of the wild, wild west. There really weren't a ton of rules and regulations. You just kind of did your loans and, you know, had fun at it. And then, of course, with the huge meltdown in 07, 08, and 09, the federal government came in and really, really stepped their foot down. And then when Dodd-Frank got passed and TRID got passed, you know, just gigantic changes. So I've kind of been through a lot of those, and, you know, we're still here and all that stuff. So it's been a fun ride, that's for sure. Change is a huge key word in our business. So if you don't like everything this week, wait till Monday. There's probably another whole slew of guidelines that have just changed.
It's like the Colorado weather, right? I mean, it's just the same rule right there.
It really is, yeah. You know, like I watched supposed to go out on Saturday night to have some fun and, you know, go drive around with some of my street buddies and some cars, and every hour the weather map kept changing, saying it would be clear skies at 10, 11, 12. We meant 1 a.m. No, we meant 2 a.m. Like, I think it finally quit raining at 5 a.m.
Wow.
So, of course, it ruined Saturday's drive. Good stuff.
You know, it's the pain that we pay, you know, when it comes to cars and that sort of thing. And just so everybody knows, we are in the Titans environment right now, so these will come into play a little bit later, so stay tuned on that. But, so, Bryan, you know, your progression in your career, obviously doing this for as long as you have, that's huge, and again, the change that you were talking about. But what brought you here? I mean, are you native? Are you from out of town? I mean, your family interests, that sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. So I was born in Panama.
Okay.
So I'm a military brat. My brother was born at the Air Force Academy, and then my parents got stationed in Panama. So we went down there, lived there for my first 4 years of my life, and then moved back here in, it's going to age me, but 1974.
Wow.
And so I've lived in Colorado Springs pretty much since 1974. Took a couple years out and played basketball in Georgia. Came back to Colorado Springs in 1992 and finished my career here at UCCS. Okay. So all my UCCS alumni, what's up?
All right.
So, and back then, you know, we weren't very good. I can't remember, we were like 4-18 or 6-18, and the program they have going on now has just been awesome. They went to the national tournament now, and they went to, I think, to the quarter or semifinals a few years ago.
Wow.
One of their players just got drafted from the San Antonio Spurs. So pretty impressive growth that they've done there.
Sure.
And you know, my sister basically came up to me in like 1994 or 95 and was like, hey, what do you want to do after college? And I was looking at either going into being a PA or maybe getting my doctorate degree and becoming a medical doctor. And I was just like, do I want to go to school that much longer? I already kind of was burnt out on it at that point. And so I applied to be a PA at a couple of different schools, and I made alternate resident for one school, so there was 2 people that had to drop out in front of me to make that slot.
Wow.
They came back to me and said, go get a little medical experience, you know, go be a paramedic, an EMT, do something, and then come back and be a PA. Okay. So then everybody kept saying, just go do nursing, that'd be easy. It's a 2-year degree, you could be an LPN or an RN. So then I started going through that progression, and everybody's like, dude, just 1 more year of school and you'll have a BSN. Why would you get an LPN if you can get a BSN? I was like, okay, so I'll do nursing school. So at the exact same time of doing nursing school, my sister told me about a buddy of hers that was doing mortgages and doing very, very well at it. And she's like, I think you would do good at this. And I was like, what's a mortgage? And she's like, that's when people buy a house and they need to finance it. They don't have $100,000 or $200,000 to buy it, so they get a loan from a bank. You would be their loan officer. I said, packed my stuff up, moved to Grand Junction for the summer. My parents still live there. Wow. And basically became a loan officer. Came back in the fall, and went to Bethel College of Nursing and just did loans super part-time. I mean, like just in between studies, if someone needed a refinance or a purchase, someone would refer me a deal. I did, 1 or 2 loans a month.
Wow.
And then as my 3-year BSN degree had progressed, or I'm getting close to graduation, I had started to build up a little clientele where a few realtors had sent me a couple of deals, and now my numbers, instead of 1 or 2 a month, I'm doing like 3, 4, and 5 loans a month. And we went through a little mini refi boom right before graduation.
Okay.
And I did like 35 loans in 1 month.
Wow.
And I almost quit nursing school 6 weeks before finals because I was so busy that I was like, why do nursing when I can do this? This is way more fun.
Right.
And then just as fast as the refi boom came, it vanished. Literally overnight, rates went from 3% back up to 6%. The phone quit ringing, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll finish my degree.
All right.
So that wasn't too bad. So then I finished my degree, but realized I didn't want to do it. I was only working 5 to 10 hours a week doing mortgages. And I was like, wow, what if I went full-time at this gig?
Okay.
And I did. So in 1998, graduated from Bethel with my nursing degree, never took my state boards, and have gone full-time since then. So literally, I'm right at my 20-year mark in the business as a full-time loan officer this year.
Unreal.
Pretty exciting.
And that's such a phenomenal story, kind of going through with nursing school and getting the medical field, and then getting out of it to do what you love and your passion. I mean, there's so many people out there that are watching this and saying, hey, I don't know what direction I'm going, or if I'm going down the right path. I mean, you took some chances and you put yourself in positions and you found what was best for you. Obviously, 20 plus years going into it. So,
and having kids, it was amazing. Because
Okay.
it was like non-issue. Anytime they had a medical issue or anything else.
Talk to Dad.
Yeah, we knew what to do. It was not a big deal. And it, just at the various companies I'd worked at, I kind of got to be known as like the nurse guy, the medical guy.
Sure.
Hey, what's this? Hey, what's this thing? So here I'm doing mortgages and fielding medical questions on the side. So that was really fun too. And I've probably done probably 20 or 30 loans for my fellow nursing students that I went to school with.
Wow.
And then, of course, over the years, I've just done lots and lots of loans with them. And that's just such a neat way to connect with those people who are nurses. I never worked their crazy shifts that they have to do 12 on and, all that just ridiculous stuff. But I at least went through the schooling. I know what they go through. I know what it's like to be on the field. And that's a neat way to relate to those people because they work so hard. I mean, it is mind-blowing what the medical guys go through on a day-to-day basis on their jobs. And I a lot of times I joke with a lot of my realtor buddies, if there's an issue with a loan or a closing's delayed because of something with the buyer or the seller, I always remember this, there's not life and death here. It's not life and death. It's still just a mortgage. It's just a loan. It's okay to delay something a day or a couple of hours. Like, no one's dying here. Yeah, they can sit in their U-Haul truck for a couple hours, but everybody wants to get it done. But really, you work together as a team to get that stuff knocked out. So that's pretty exciting to kind of keep that in the back of my mind.
I love that, and that's perspective to shed onto your clients, and obviously the success you've had in your career and the partnerships. I mean, all of it comes together. So that's a beautiful segue into what's your why, Bryan? I mean, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes you do what you do to the level that you do it at?
So I think everyone always, of course, changes that why. Everyone gets asked that. But I mean, I think at the beginning, it was just a good way to pay my small bills that I had at that time. Young college student, didn't really have a lot of expenses. So it was okay to do a deal or 2 a month. Now, married, and we currently have 5 kids, and then our youngest is due Halloween. So that'll be 6. So that's super exciting. So I know you just became a father.
Yes, sir.
So you know what it's like. So my oldest is 24, Andy, and then I have a son, Caleb, who's 15. And then we go to Kylie, who's 12. She'll be 13 in December. Riley is 8. She'll be 9 in January. And then a lot of people know our little guy, Braden, because he's literally grown up on Facebook. It's so exciting to see him. He'll be 3 in November. And then our youngest will be a boy, and then he's due Halloween, so that's so neat. But it's like that whole world of you never know who's watching, and I kind of always try to keep that in the back of my mind because, even like you said the other day you're leaving Banning Lewis, and you saw us driving through the neighborhood. I didn't see you, but you saw us. You really never know that, and so I've had so many realtors or clients say that they saw some video we had posted or they had seen a video shared. because maybe I wasn't quite friends with them on Facebook, but a friend of a friend.
Sure. Likes or
and
comments.
Yeah, liked your comment, and then they saw a video, and they know you or saw you or heard of you. It is truly mind-blowing in today's age of social media, who sees you or who's watching you. You know, so I always kind of keep that in the back of my mind.
I think that's smart, and I think you should always be cautious or careful with family and personal items, and you know, be selective of what people are out there, and let your true friends and family see you grow and change. And you know, obviously, a lot of people are going to be watching this, so you know, we're careful with this one. We want the views on this one, everybody.
We do. Like some of Crystal, though, you know, my wife, she's just incredible on the social media stuff. I mean, she posts a lot more than I do and stuff like that, but she's a lot smarter than I am social media wise.
Sure.
I'd probably comment on something and say someone's, probably more of like a to the heart post, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, quit being whatever, you know, pick it up and you'll move on. And where she's more encouraging and sweet and kind to them and everything else. So sometimes I'm like, okay, backspace, delete, don't post that comment. You know?
Edit,
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Edit post. But I guess Facebook, I never knew that Facebook leaves your old post and your edited post up there. Never even knew that.
Yeah, you can go back and delete them or
Okay.
hide them from a timeline. Usually the best way to go through.
So there's a tip for you guys.
So,
I did not know that because I've probably said some stuff I shouldn't have.
You're like, oops, hey, it's all right. You know, as long as the majority of the time you're out there, it's positive.
Oh
nature.
yeah, try to.
You know, and this is positive, everybody. So this is good stuff. So let's go. And that why is fantastic. You're talking about, you know, obviously financial, you know, reasons. Everybody's got to make a living, but then going through and talking about your family and your growth and supporting the community. It's rung through, so that's a beautiful why for everybody to kind of lead off of. So, for the other professionals that are watching this right now, whether they're new or seasoned, this is a really beautiful segment for you to look back in your career thus far, and if you could pinpoint one or two things that you might have added to your business that took it from one level to the next, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I would say that, like I said, once I went full time, that was a huge impact because instead of working a business, 5 to 10 hours a week, I really was putting in the time on it. But I mean, I would say, one of the biggest things that I gained or got is when I worked back with Scott Smith at Sunwest Mortgage. Just, here I am, a guy doing 1 or 2 deals a month. And I see a guy like Scott doing, 10 plus deals a month, and I worked at his company for probably about 6 to 9 months. Can't remember how long I was there, but then I also met Tiffany Isaac, and, she was just huge. She would sit with me up in the conference room and, say, well, what does the guideline say? Or what does this say? I mean, actually, a true, teacher who, she did this years, and she had a really good book of business. Super duper smart in the industry back then. I was like, wow, man, these guys know what they're doing. Sure. And same thing, Scott would come in from lunch with like 3 applications and throw it on Shelly's desk and be like, boom, let's get these going. I was like, in one day? It was just blown away.
Possible?
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it because here I am like a onesie twosie guy, didn't even know you could do that kind of business. And then Tiffany just instilled in me constantly over and over and over again to study the game, study the game, study the game. If you know a guideline, if you know something you thought you couldn't do something, learn it, teach it, grow it. You then can realize that, wait a minute, those 3 deals that this other guy said can't be done, you can. And so I think that was a really huge, first step thing was just like learning guidelines and reading the books. And I'm going through all these manuals all the time in my downtime, reading this, learning what you can do here. And that kind of really, stepped up my business a ton. Okay. And then once you kind of do a couple of deals in the community and people learn your name and you kind of become one of the go-to people. And every town has it. So it's not like we're super special in Colorado Springs. We only have that one guy that can get a loan done. Sure. Every town has those people in them. I've gone to Jacksonville, Florida, and Orlando, and I've got friends in, Philadelphia. I'm in a couple of neat Facebook loan officer groups. And there are some absolute genius rock stars in each one of these towns. Wow. And it's really neat for us to be able to go on there before, you might take a day or 2 to get an answer on a question. I can literally go to a couple of my little Facebook group guys and ask a super quick question, and you'll have these just rock stars, just bam, 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 bam. Here's what you can do. Here's what to say to the underwriter. Here's the guideline. Hey, I pulled this for you. Here's this. And I'm just like, it is awesome. So that's been a huge, improvement in my world. And then I, just again, learning the guidelines, going through these crazy, ramps and stuff like that. And then I, really want to give credit to my two current managers that I have now over at Northpointe Bank with Rob Sylvia and Todd Crane, I think where they have been huge to me is I've always had a knack of being able to get deals done, working hard, but maybe coming across a little too harsh. So they really taught me like a better way to say stuff. So my old me would be, let's say the underwriter won't approve a certain loan. I would come in and literally like, smack the paper down like you're playing spades and cards and be like, boom, here's the guideline, I can do the loan, clear my file for closing.
Right.
I won the battle but lost the war because now that underwriter's like, wow, yeah, he's right, but I don't like this guy.
Not the easiest way to work with.
Sure, yeah. So, you kind of get a bad reputation that you're maybe not the nicest person to deal with, or, I know we can say whatever we want to on Facebook and all that, but you get to be known as like an asshole. Boy, you're really sharp, but man, that guy's a jerk. I don't want to work with him. So I think with Todd and Rob, over and over and over preaching to me, and I literally was like in their office like once a week at the beginning of working with them. They're like, dude, come on, say it like this, do this. I'm like, okay. And then so I always thought I'm coachable. But it took them a while because like literally I used to come in on Mondays, hey, do I need to come in your office? And they're like, no, we didn't hear anything about you this week. You're good. I'm like, yes, awesome. But instead of like slamming someone and, stomping your feet and saying that you're right, a better approach, coming at it from, hey, I found this guideline. Do you think it would work on our Thompson file? Could we apply this rule on commissions to this particular loan? Let that person give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down, or you know what, nice, fine, we can use that. Let's go with it. And I think that has been just really, really huge in even just personal growth from that level to here, but then able to work with other agents in town and other loan officers and just bringing people to the company. Just that little tiny strategy has been, I think, huge for me. Instead of having to always prove you're right, there's just a better way to do it, kind of a deal. And especially the younger people who are just getting into the industry and stuff like that, I think that's because I've seen some of the crazy Facebook posts and different comments that people have made. That I think is really good the way you can come across to people. For
Sure, and there's so much in there, Brian. So hopefully everybody took a ton of notes on that. But for me, what really stuck out right at the beginning is knowing your craft and constantly educating yourself and learning. That never stops from day one up until today. It's constantly changing. Then you look at the path of, I guess, mentors or people that you've been learning from throughout your career that have been there and done that, and you've taken that like a sponge and then become a better person because of it. And then obviously, I guess, killing them with kindness. Learning how to position yourself so that you can get the point across without offending anybody, but still getting it done, in a timely manner. So there's tons of good info.
Yeah, Tiffany always says, you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar. Yeah. That kind of those things, and you just kind of keep thinking in the back of your mind about that stuff. Is what is the point that you're trying to make here? What is your end goal result? What are you trying to do?
Sure.
So you always kind of think back on that, and I've typed out emails and been like, don't do that.
Don't send it yet, type it out.
Or especially if you're mad or angry in a certain situation, sometimes it makes more sense to sleep on it overnight. Sometimes you don't have to respond to a client or an agent or a title person immediately. Think about it, because different things happen and said and all that stuff. So, sometimes come across, and now I've had so many people come up and like, I love the way you handled that situation. That was awesome. And I just think back at my old me, where I would have had to, run in, like I said, slam the paper down and be like, boom, I got this done. You proved my loan, clear me for closing. We won. And I still get the same result, but way, way better. Everyone loves it. Everyone's on your team. Everyone's cheering. Everyone can't wait to go to that closing, and everyone's happy, kind of a deal. And that's much, much better of a feeling for sure.
I love it. And that's great advice. So again, hopefully everybody wrote that down. So let's go into the tricky part of the interview here in this process for the episode, and it's the challenge question. So, every episode of Titans, it comes down to, we all deal with challenges, whether it's in the past, we're dealing with them now, or into the future. No one's exempt from that. But it's not so much what happens, but how we overcome that makes us who we are. So if you could look back on your life, Brian, and pick a challenge that you dealt with, that you overcame, and you became a stronger man because of it, what does that look like for you?
So I would think just like a lot of the rules and guideline changes. So, I had a very successful career when I was over at Castle and Cook Mortgage.
Okay.
We were doing very, very good, great reputation, awesome company. And even to this day, I still love Matthew Pineda. He was the president back then,
Wow.
just an incredible person, just really kind-hearted and really cared about all of his employees. And then I saw these TRID rules coming, and and so I was just like, Dodd-Frank, TRID, boy, this is gonna get scary. So at that time, I thought, my best opportunity to take care of me and my family was to, kind of switch gears from the regular conventional loans and maybe like broaden my base.
Okay.
So I joined BBVA Compass Bank in 2010. They had a doctor program, a construction program, a land loan, a professional loan, and just a whole bunch of neat, niche-y products.
Okay.
They weren't very good at conventional loans, VA, FHA loans, but I was like, we'll get through that part, but I'm going to have such a larger market share because I can do all these other programs that no one can.
Love it.
So I love that side of it. And then I could also lend in all 50 states. Or with my old company, I was just in Colorado.
Sure.
So that was my mindset. But then I didn't realize that, everyone is so smart in the game. They figured out how to, get the loan officers a larger piece of the pie with the program. So I thought that our income was going to be, slashed in half,
Wow.
and it was going to be really painful to be in a traditional loan officer role. But again, these other people are so freaking smart out there. They figured out ways around rule or through TRID maybe, or through Dodd-Frank, not really around it, but just how to circumvent it. And so that was a little bit hard because I literally went from a really good business of FHA, VA, conventional loans with some tremendous agents. And I literally, when I went to Compass, had to give them all up.
Wow.
Just because those agents were doing VA, conventional, FHA buyers, they didn't really have the doctor, construction, and land loans.
Okay.
So I literally took a very good production down to zero. And then built it from zero back up to a top 3 producer at Compass Bank.
Okay.
And then their rules started changing and everything else, and I was like, okay, this isn't working. So then I jumped back into the game where I'm at today again with the FHA VA conventional loan.
Okay.
And I worked with a buddy of mine over at his company that we had for about 10 months, and then it was okay, but their platform just wasn't what it was going to help for me to be successful. And then that's when Rob and Todd called me, and I was thinking about joining a company up in Denver and being like a branch down here.
Wow.
And they're like, please just wait, wait 30 days, we have something incredible coming, we really want you to come join over here, but it's not ready to go. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So I did. I hung out and waited, and then I joined Todd and Rob in October of 2013. We've changed company names in the door, but our team and our core is the same. So
right.
We've had all of our main people since the beginning. And I said, and Tiffany's been there with me, and we always kid about being brother and sister and like this love-hate relationship. But I mean, she's just awesome. So Tiffany, if you're watching, I love you to death.
Hey,
You're
Tiffany.
amazing. So we've literally have been together since 1998. So we're on our 20 years on and off.
Oh,
She went and worked with Dave Oliver and Troy Brennan over at Peoples for a while, and they're just awesome people. And so, but she truly is just one of the smartest people in the industry. I mean, it's crazy. If you have a question or something like that, she's just awesome to go work with or file things through. And then, same thing with Todd. He knows the mortgage game like crazy. And so to have that team and that concept there, it's just been, really, really good. So that challenge of literally going from a book of business to literally zero, restarting, and then trying to call those agents back saying, hey, I'm doing this again. They're like, you left us a year or 2 or 3 years ago. We had to find someone else to work with. So I literally felt like I'm a brand new loan officer again in 2013 or 14. So to me, it's almost as if I've only been doing this 4 years again.
Sure.
Because I literally had to get back at the groundwork of zero and then build up new agents and build new relationships and stuff like that.
Right.
But you can do it.
Sure.
I mean, I have so many of my friends that have military wives or spouses, and they have to move every 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys are going into these new towns and new communities, and they're literally building up a brand new book of business from scratch.
Wow.
Or even having a brand new person that comes into our industry,
Mm-hmm.
and then watching them, just take off and go.
Skyrocket.
Oh,
Yeah.
you see them on Facebook, these guys that you didn't even hear about a year or two ago, and all of a sudden you find out they're like this top producer, and
Right.
you're like, what the heck?
What
So that can
happened
be
there?
done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really, really cool.
Sure. And I think that you have a lot of challenge in that, which I think is beautiful for everybody to hear, especially from a producer such as yourself, is once you have that level of success, yes, it's scary to make a change, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, you've had success before, you can have it again. And you're proof of that, right? You make a change, you feel like you're starting brand new, but you did it and then some. So keep moving forward, keep pressing on. And don't be afraid to make changes if it's right for you. I think that's really the ultimate message out of that. And that's great. So everybody out there, hopefully you listened to that. That was great. So thanks for sharing the challenge. Not the easiest thing to go through. So let's go a little softer, Bryan, because this is a little bit of an easier question, actually one of my favorites. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, any age range, what would you say to young Bryan?
Yeah, so that's the same one. I would probably, again, like winning the battle, losing the war kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really kind of still sits at home with me, because I just, think back in my life, how many of those confrontations have I had with a borrower
Mm-hmm.
or a realtor or, whatever in that situation that could have been handled so much better.
Okay.
Where, maybe you did put that person in their place, or you were correct, but again, the implementation of how it was handled or portrayed just probably wasn't the best. Okay. So I wish I could probably go back in time and be like, zip, 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 kind of a thing, or learn the better way of doing that. Just reminds me, back when I played high school basketball,
Okay.
I always tell people I got cut as a sophomore. So, here I am thinking to my mind that I'm like this, superstar player as a sophomore. Of course, there's really good players ahead of me, but I'm like, oh, I'm still one of the top 12.
Right.
I'm going to make this the varsity as a sophomore, no question about it. And then coach brings me in, and I'm just like, oh, this is going to be awesome. What's up? You want me to travel with the team? What's going on here? And then he was just like, yeah, so we're not going to keep you on the squad this year. And I was like, is this for me, or is this interview for someone else?
Is there another Bryan on the
to
team?
get the wrong guy? And he's just like, yeah, it's a hard decision, but we're actually going to keep these other two guys instead, and all this stuff. And of course, at that time, it just seemed like mind-blowing to me. Like almost was like, man, this is just crazy. But what I actually learned about myself personally during that time was that I actually have, huge heart, and I didn't quit, because a lot of people were like, there went my basketball career, I'm done. But my best friend Tim Allen, he basically, he was 2 years behind me, but we're one age. I was a year ahead in school.
Oh, okay.
So, and then, where his birthday was, he was a year older. Mm-hmm. So we were only a year apart in age, but, he was in 8th grade at the time, and he had a coach, Phil Coulter, and he would literally come home every day after school, after his practice, and be like, okay, this is what we learned today. We should work on this. He had 2-hour practice. He would then come home, and we'd play basketball for another 2 or 3 hours a day.
Wow.
Then just really worked hard and worked on all this stuff, so that when the guys on my team were out, playing in the gym and running plays and practicing and, cutting and how to run a motion offense, I literally just worked on my fundamentals. Worked on my shot and this and my jumping and just all the core things. So then when I came back from my junior year, I luckily got to be, probably 10 times the player I was as a sophomore, but it's only because I put in that time and that energy and that effort, and I didn't quit.
Love it.
And so if I could go back in time, it's like, keep applying those types of principles to this mortgage world, because it's like every day the guidelines change. You used to be able to do this, this, and this. And then all of a sudden, the new rule for student loans, that's the one that changes like every week. I think Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac just changed the rules last week on what you can use for student loan qualifications.
So the neat thing is, if you don't keep up on that stuff, you think you still have a loan that you can't do for a barber. But actually the new guideline makes it easier in some cases. So that person that you told no to 3 weeks ago, you can actually say, hey guys, guess what? There's a new rule change. We might be able to do this for you. So that's kind of exciting on that end of it. Is, so, old me is really focused on that. And then the other thing that's not really conceptual on as far as like telling myself something, but I just wish I had done a better job of like database managing. So that would have been cool, because so many of these big producers, they just really dug into their database, they kept everything going and all that kind of stuff, and then they really keep touch base with their old clients and stuff like that. So that's been huge.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of really cool things that you can kind of look at and go through, as you can say, hey, the advice that you give your younger self, looking back on how you deliver things earlier on in the episode, I think that makes perfect sense. And that's for anybody that's out there watching what's going on. But secondarily, having a database, that's huge stuff. And it doesn't matter, obviously, if you're starting out, start from scratch and make sure you're maintaining that, but look back on it. Even top producers, they have to focus on that. The relationship is everything.
Correct. Yeah, and I've seen some of these, like, realtor coaching programs that teach people, if you have 1,000 people in your database, they'll guarantee you X number of transactions per year. So then imagine if you have 5,000 or 10,000 names that you have in your database. I mean, those numbers can just be scary, and people don't even realize that they have these gold mines. And a lot of companies, like, your Googles and all that, they just want names. I can't remember what the name of that one company was, but it was like either like bills.com or something. They sold for over $1 billion, and it was just because they wanted the names. That's it. That's all they wanted. They wanted the database. So they paid them $1 billion because they had so many names in their database.
It makes sense. It's consumer, it's people, it's all about relationships, and that's any product or service, it's the end user, right? So the more we know, the more we can do. So but I think that's great advice, not just for young Bryan, for everybody out there who's watching. So thanks for sharing that into that. So let's go into one of the more inquisitive parts, or the thought process of education. So a lot of the viewers of this series, they like to know what the Titans are feeding their minds, whether it was in the past or currently, but what books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, or influencers or coaches on social media. What are you feeding your mind, Bryan?
Yeah, so I'm not a huge book reader. So I know a lot of people love reading their books. My brain just literally falls asleep after 10 minutes. So
Here we go.
If I grab out a book, I'm just zonked. And
This is real.
Sorry. And I know some people read a book a day or whatever. My brain just kind of runs so fast. It just literally puts me to sleep.
Sure.
But I do like, a lot of influence people out there, like Ryan Stewman. We're members of all of his little clubs and groups on there on Facebook, and just, his group has changed so much. I kind of almost liken him to me. When he first came out, he was so, in your face, F-bombs, if you don't like me, go away kind of a person, just bam, 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 bam. And, his nickname is the hardcore closer. And it was just, if you don't like me, I don't really give a F, because I'm me and deal with it. But it worked good for him. It did. It got him up to this income level, he always says. And then he started picking up some really awesome life coaches, and they were like, man, you're killing it with the 2%. You're killing it, bro. That 2% that like you, you are killing it. But do you know there's a 98% population over here that you're completely missing and you're pushing off? And then once he now has really, really changed his game, he says he doesn't, drink anymore, he doesn't smoke pot anymore. He literally has evolved his business, and then, he went from basically a low 6 income earner to a low 7 income earner. And I think he's almost at an 8-digit income earner this year, I think he was saying the other day. So, and it's because he has grown that. So I love listening to him. Just such a neat guy. I mean, I can instant message him. He'll reply back typically in just minutes every time. I picked up a coach this year, Cindy Ertman. So hi, Cindy, if you're watching. She really helps you with not just your business itself, but your personal growth and the you and work-life balance, and what are you passing down for your legacy. And that's a huge deal. And she's a 200 million producer in California. Just huge. She gets to cheat a little bit because they have huge loans out there, but still she's just an absolute animal.
Okay.
And huge producer, but just such a class person. We go out there to her house and stay for these events. She only lets like 12 people come.
Right.
Then we get to hang out with her all weekend, and just really opens up her home to us, and like everyone leaves like best friends.
Love it.
And it is just such a crazy difference of world, because sometimes I think you just think about numbers and getting this client to closing and getting this deal done. Sometimes I think we might forget about the person behind it in the transaction, or even our life.
Sure.
Because a lot of times, our spouses, have to deal with, if a lot of people in these worlds, maybe you're the working spouse and the other one's at home, or maybe you do have a dual income, but a lot of people just can't comprehend. We don't work 9 to 5. We just don't.
Sure.
We literally, you're getting people that are texting you or calling you from Florida at 6 a.m. They forgot that you're in Colorado.
Sure.
So they're like, oh shoot, you're 2 hours ahead. Or likewise, someone that you're working with in Hawaii, they're 4 hours behind us. So when they're replying to me at 9 o'clock at night, it's 1 a.m. here. They're like, oh shoot, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I keep forgetting about the time change. But they have something in their mind. So I think that coaching is huge, and that's one of the things with you guys out there. If you look at any of the humongous top producers out there, they're all coached by just awesome people. Man, look at Treasure Davis. Like literally once a week she is talking about her coach, and her coach said this, and then it has been a life-changing for her in that world. And I think the same thing for me. One of our top producers at our company, Rick, he's got a couple of coaches that he works with as well.
Sure.
And then so I'm also in another group called Next Level Loan Officers, and that's a really cool group too.
Okay.
We do meetings about once every 90 days or so, sometimes a little bit sooner, sometimes a little bit later. But same thing, I mean, just dialing it in, and what's working here, and just coaching strategies, sales strategies. And it was so funny because I just had a closing the other day where he had just gone over like a sales strategy and things like that with someone that's shopping. Then I had a client that had called, and he's shopping like 3 or 4 different people. Wow. And I literally had just heard his speech, no joke, like 5 minutes earlier.
Sure.
My phone call rang, and I grab it, and I literally almost verbatim did his little deal. And the guy's like, man, I'm going with you. He's like, I talked to these other 3 people, but you asked me, what's important to me, because a lot of times we think in our mind as a loan officer, we're just rate. So I know that one of the big national companies, real estate companies, just announced that they're having a mortgage company that they're adding to the pile.
Sure.
But all they're selling is rate and fee, which is what we've been taught for the past, since I've been doing it 23 years.
Sure.
It's not rate and fee. It's the client. It's the person. It's the deal behind them. So this company is coming out pushing rate and fee to everybody, which to me is like, great, go ahead and sell rate and fee.
Sure.
I'm going to take care of my clients.
Right.
And so, are they going to grab a percentage of the market share? Of course.
Sure.
Just they are, because you just have some of those consumers that don't care about just, you're going to answer your phone at night, you're going to text them back, you're going to reply back to their email. They just want to know, what's this going to cost me? Can you close on time? Great, thank you so much, hope to never talk to you again.
Right.
You're going to have that percentage of the people,
sure,
and that's fine. So those people can use the online kind of places like that, but they just won't get the customer service, the professionalism, and all of that kind of stuff, which I think they're really missing out on that. Again, unless they're just doing a super simple transaction.
Sure.
But I had one of my agents, I'm doing his personal purchase for him. He was going to put down just a huge chunk of change for his personal residence.
Okay.
But he's made a lot of money over the past 10 years buying and selling rental properties.
Right.
So I'm just like, why don't you want to keep doing that? And he's just like, well, we want to have a low house payment. So I showed him, hey, instead of putting down this chunk of change, what if you bought 3 more rental properties and your single family home?
Love it.
It's ending up going to save him $1,800 a month, because he's going to make $600 per rental unit. We're putting down all that cash would have only changed his mortgage payment $600.
Wow. Wow.
So his net difference is he's going to make an additional $1,200, which basically is half his mortgage payment.
Right.
And he's just like, holy crap, I wasn't even thinking of that. So that's the stuff you won't get from a, internet type of a company or any of that stuff. They'll just say, okay, you want 30% down, here's our rate, see you later. They're not thinking about the client and what's really, really best for them. So I think that's such a really cool part about our industry, that we can really teach our clients how to be financially, responsible.
Sure, and I think that while you're mentioning that specifically, that's a big part of the series, is showcasing true professionals, and not just in the overall production, numbers wise, but really guiding people through the process, doing what's right, having a moral compass. That's why I really consider you a real estate titan, Bryan, is just because of that. All those things you just mentioned, going above and beyond. Somebody's calling you at these odd hours, you're there to pick up the phone. It isn't a 9 to 5. If that's what you're looking for, then you're not looking at the top tier.
Oh,
right?
not a question.
That's what I want to stress out to everybody who's watching this. Not everybody's created equal. Realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential, commercial. This is a perfect example of that top tier and what you get. So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
It's huge. And it's fun to even I got to give a shout out to my buddy Chris Frankemont. He's been with me now for 2 years, and he's branching out onto his own. He's still at Northpointe Bank,
okay.
But he's now creating his own team. He literally is the consummate student of this industry. His numbers are going to probably double mine within the next several years.
Wow.
He's just such an animal. Studies the game, learns the guidelines inside and out. And he's really, really focusing on that customer service, customer first type of aspect, but from the beginning.
Beautiful.
So he didn't have to wait 5 years to meet someone to teach him that.
Sure.
He literally has gotten that from day one.
Love it.
And I think it's going to, and his numbers are just crazy. I think right now he's number 5 at our bank,
Okay.
in 2 years in the industry.
Unreal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, it'll be fun to see where he's at in another 2 or 3 years. He'll be vying for, the top 1, 2, and 3 spots in the company. And that's the kind of stuff that, you younger guys, I just see that. And then I don't know if you've interviewed Seven before,
I have
but
not.
she's a young realtor out there, and I watch her little Facebook live videos. They pop up on my feed all the time, and I'll watch them. Brand new in the industry and really being a professional of the game.
Sure.
And you'll see her numbers really grow and everything else. And there's just a whole bunch of really young, awesome loan officers at other companies. Even downstairs from me, we have Penn Trust Mortgage, which is downstairs, and Rich List is the number 1 guy, I think, in the state and probably in a 10-state area.
Unreal.
I mean, the guy is just an absolute producer. I mean, talking about the Titans, he's like the king of the Titans. So good job, buddy.
Hey.
And also so humble.
Sure.
I mean, literally, I can go downstairs and ask him anything, grab 5 minutes from him, and literally, he's never said, "Hey, dude, I'm so busy, I can't right now." He always lets you in.
Yep.
And so that's what I think is really important for a lot of these, heavy producers and hitters, is to always keep your door open. Mm-hmm. And it's been really neat at our company. Like I said, I've got Tiffany and Todd. I can always bounce questions off. But at the same time, I think our company is so blessed that, you can literally go into anyone's office and ask anyone questions, and they always have that open door policy where they want you to succeed, they want you to be professional, they want you to have big producing numbers, and not, trying to push you down kind of a thing. And I've heard unfortunate stuff at some other, companies where the top person only cares about their production and not building up or growing their team or their brand.
Sad.
And I don't get that, because even to me, if I help a loan officer at our team and I don't get $1 off of it, who cares? Got a deal done. Yep. Northpointe Bank gets that reputation of, hey, they got that deal done. They don't have to know behind the scenes how. All those borrowers and realtors need to know is that deal got done. Northpointe Bank did it. I mean, that to me is really, really awesome. And especially with Crystal, she's the same way. She was at a different bank before we kind of talked her into joining our place. She was almost on an island.
Wow.
And I told her, you are going to double your production by coming here. And she was just like, doesn't make any sense. How? And I was like, trust me. I said, when you're around people who are doing huge numbers and the intelligence that they have, I said it's, I hate saying it's like a feeding frenzy, but it is. It's very addictive, and just even like the osmosis of being around that environment, you're going to go from 2 deals or 4 deals a month to like 5 and 6 just being there.
Right.
And she's like, we'll see. I've been doing the same numbers for whatever, like 2 or 3 years in a row. I really don't see it. Within 6 months, she doubled her numbers from the production the year before.
There you go.
The next year, she doubled those numbers again. So basically, it was a 400 or 600% change in her production numbers. And it wasn't just a piece.
Right.
It's kind of like just the everything of being around really, really high producing people, really smart producing people. You feel that energy, you feel that vibe and stuff like that. And it's crazy. Like this morning before I was coming here, I was over at Keller Williams Partners with Ed and Casey. So if you guys are watching, hello as well.
Hey guys.
And that talking about an environment that they've created. When they moved off of their airport and Powers location, it was a nice office, but where they're at now is literally 10 times bigger, better. It's incredible. I know Casey was just on with you, not too long ago, but go walk around that office with them, and the impact and the buzz and the feeling in there is it's just a 10, 11, constantly. And same thing with those guys. They can go ask any one of the other agents a question. Hey, I've got a question with this contract. Hey, I've got a question with this. Every single agent wants to help the other agents, and they're huge on that. And not to kind of diverge, but one of the things I wanted to piece back on with like Casey, her and I will talk about once a week or so on just things that are working or things to do, and she's been just huge in my world of getting like the team concept down. Right. So like when I worked at Compass Bank, they penalized you if you had a team or assistants. So you couldn't qualify for certain bonuses, you couldn't get certain pay structures if you had an assistant. And then you had to share an assistant with, I think, 3 or 4 other loan officers, regardless of your production. Okay. So it made it really hard to even use an assistant. So I just rather work 12 or 15 hours a day and said, screw the assistant. It just didn't make sense. But with Casey, man, she really has just harped. You got to get a team. You got to get a team. And so I think we have built just an unbelievable team that we have. Like I said, it's Crystal, myself, we have Becky, hi Becky, and Shane, and then I have my own individual processor that just processes for our team, Tina. And it's unbelievable what you can get done when everyone likes each other, everyone is working for the client, they're working for the end goal, not a paycheck and any of that kind of stuff. And that's huge. And like I said, I watched Chris Cowles' interview a couple weeks ago, and just hearing him really focus on building and training and coaching people. I mean, it truly is that. And that's what I said what Ed and Casey have done over at their KW Partners branch is just branch wide. I had one of my agents I've worked with for the longest is Tulio Pena. Oh, wow. He worked over at Action Team for a couple of years, and I was like, man, I go, you are killing it individually. I mean, he's truly just an absolute rock star by himself, but he's killing himself. He got over to KW, added a partner, so then he has someone on his team that really just took a huge chunk off, a load off of his team. And then Dan is one of those crazy guys that has like a 800 IQ, one of the smartest guys in the world, but he's still a human, so he can talk to you. It's not like your, organic chemistry or microbiology chemistry teacher in school that can't even relate to a human. They literally don't even speak to you.
Literally a robot.
Yeah, they're just like, it's like talking to Stephen Hawking for a while. Yeah. It's just like, what did he say?
What was that?
Yeah, they forget to eat and stuff, but but his business has just grown a huge chunk. But he's also been able to go to basketball games for his kids, go to camping trips with his kids and do all these family activities where before he couldn't because he was doing everything. And then now he's added another realtor to his team, and so he keeps growing. And it's really awesome just to see what you can learn from other people in this industry. I mean, it really is, you know. And so, like I said, you know, kind of take a piece here and a piece here. Not everything's going to work for you for every professional. You know, some of the guys, like I said, you know, there's this one coach that we work with. He calls it, you know, the Thor Mondays or whatever. You want you to call, you know, 20 people on Monday morning and set 3 appointments for Wednesday. Me personally, I hate cold calling.
Okay.
That's just me. So you'll never get a cold call from me.
It's not going to happen from Bryan, everybody.
Sorry. But we have, you know, one of our top guys, Rick. I mean, he is religious about that. Every Monday morning when I walk by his office, he is knocking out his phone calls and he is setting up his appointments. You know, his daughter just joined the industry, and you know, she's out there hustling it as well. And you know, you'll see her name already popping up on Facebook posts about people recommending her and stuff like that. And she does. I mean, she is setting appointments, calling people, building her business, making those contacts and stuff like that. You know, so it's huge. I mean, and a lot of those things will work. Some people you don't have to do them all, but you know, there are just some huge pieces I think that you can gain from just all of your interactions with so many different people. It's just it's a neat deal. And just keep learning, you know, nonstop. So podcasts, you know, try to get, you know, as much positive into you. Now, I'm not into like the super fluffy stuff, you know, where it's like I'm good enough, I'm whatever. I don't get into that too much. But you know, I truly do believe in, you know, setting goals. I've always set goals for myself, and then, you know, writing it down is huge. Not just thinking about a goal, but truly writing it down. And I think those things really come into being. You know, I think Ryan the other day, Stewman, said that on his post that he had, you know, set a goal, wrote it down or whatever, and literally within just hours of writing down the goal, he got to be on stage with one of his huge idols that he really looks at. He's like, man, you know what? I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to be on stage with such and such speaker, you know, within 12 months. That's my goal.
Wow.
I think it was within 2 hours, his phone rang. It was a guy doing a keynote speaker, and he said, hey, I've got a spot. I want you to talk with such and such.
Interesting.
2 hours within writing down that goal, that happened.
Wow.
And I tell people that all the time. You know, beginning of the year, write down your goals. Whether you're a realtor, loan officer, you know, home builder, it doesn't matter. You know, how many homes do you want to build this year? How many families do you want to help? You know, how many loans do you want to close? Whatever that goal is, you know, set it. You know, to me, kind of poking back here, I ran the Pikes Peak in 2017, and my car did like 143 miles an hour stop. I set a goal that the next year I wanted to be one of those guys that broke 200. So that was my goal. And you know, so we put, you know, whatever, 6-7 months into the car and getting it prepped and ready, and then to break 200 at our altitude is no simple feat. You know, my buddy Scuba Steve has, you know, he's this close to getting, I think his top speeds now is like 196, 195.
It's right there.
Right there. And he's been trying for a couple of years to get there. And, you know, we luckily came out there. I had just an incredible, you know, car builder, Nathan Sissio over at Top Speed.
Wonderful.
And, you know, he's sitting there, he's at sea level. And I'm like, it's a whole different world up here, bro. We're at 7,000 feet above elevation. And so he did a whole bunch of his homework to learn about the air density and, you know, what's it going to take and everything else. And, you know, it came out. And then I think this year we had, Javid did it. Justin did it. I did it, and then Coy's wife, Alex Christmas, she broke it, and then Giddy drove in Brian Spockman's car, and Giddy did it as well. So, you know, there was that 5 cars from Top Speed broke the 200 mark, and there was only 12 cars out of 400 that broke 200 this year. You know, and a lot of those are like true race cars. We're talking cars that are literally sitting in a garage, in a trailer. They never drive to 7-Eleven.
Except on the track.
We're talking like they literally get trailered to a track, they unload them, they barely start, they idle rough, and then they're like full race cages and all that stuff. And those guys are, you know, breaking 200.
Sure.
Here we have a car that literally I can take the kids to the store, in the mall, go to dinner.
Right behind us, everybody, right here. I mean, the fact that you mentioned, I'm so glad. And again, everybody, just so, in case you're wondering, why are they in a garage? What's going on here? It's not typical Titans, attire. So it is in Bryan's environment, but we had a discussion because we were both at the track,
right,
and we missed each other. And I said, "Shoot, I would have loved to ride in this." So everybody, stay tuned after the episode because we're going to shoot another episode of us getting into some trouble into this beast back here. So stay tuned on that. We'll see kind of where we go there. So, but I do want to address the education phase.
Yeah.
So everybody out there, I'll have links below everything that Bryan was talking about, so you can feed your mind that way. I think that a really beautiful note and a common ground is success breeds success.
Oh,
Don't
absolutely.
be afraid to ask questions, because the successful people, truly successful people, and the people that I work with across the United States, on that highest of high level, they're always sharing. Their door is always open, and
yes.
I love that you mentioned that. It always blows me away when I hear these stories about people that have had levels of success, but they're selfish. They won't give it. And I find that they're hurting themselves this way.
Oh, I agree.
So, I'm glad that you addressed so many notes onto that, and there's lots of positives. So you guys can feed your mind the same way that Bryan does and continue to.
Or even if you're a top producer and you maybe, haven't thought of that, or maybe you didn't think you should help those out because you wanted to keep, your secret. And really, there aren't any secrets.
Right.
Like everything
You're
is
right.
out there. You can only cut a pie so many different ways.
Sure.
So, to me, a lot of those people, really need to open themselves up. We've had some top producers at our company, that tried to keep all of their, marketing and ideas and campaigns, just really keep that door shut. And I think they're starting to realize, hey, we're all in this together. We're, there's a huge pie for everyone to share.
Tons.
And there's no reason not to help other people. I've been blessed that I've had other loan officers or agents calling me on other deals that I have nothing to do with. And it's been so neat that they, actually wanted to call me and say, hey, I have this, and this going on. What do you think about that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so easy. All you have to do is, do this, or this.
Right.
And, real easy thing, like I was the lender for closing this morning, and the lender for the seller's purchase, his underwriter was saying that they had to, restore his VA eligibility 24 hours or whatever prior to the closing of their sale, which of course is impossible because their eligibility is tied to their current home that they're selling. You can't restore it prior to the sale. And she wanted all this documentation, and it's not my deal at all. It has nothing to do with us, but literally sent him the guideline and said, here's what you need to give to your underwriter. Go give her this document and use the nice Bryan and say, would this work? Does this satisfy your condition on that? And he emailed me back and was like, dude, they cleared it. Awesome. Thank you for that help. And I think that stuff is just awesome. Again, it's not my deal, it's the deal after us.
Sure.
You know what, why not keep that little ball going?
Sure.
And it made for such an awesome closing. Another rock star out there, Mark Davis, was that listing agent for that deal. And my side was Ryan Moberly, who I gotta give a shout out to Ryan, because here's a guy that I did a loan for 10 years ago, buying his first fourplex, and we did it on a 203K loan.
Wow.
He went in there, fixed the carpet, paint, drywall, upgraded these houses. I think he told us the other day, sold it a few years later and made almost a six-figure profit on that home.
Right.
Bought another property, then bought an 8-plex, sold that one for a huge chunk of change. And then, he was always working at, Fountain Valley School District.
Okay.
I think he was a custodian or whatever in that industry. And, he came to me like a year and a half ago and was like, think about getting my real estate license. What do you think? And I'm like, I think you'd kill it.
Wow.
He's super funny. He's super personable. And he can relate to his clients. He's not at this crazy upper level.
Sure.
He's still totally down to earth and really works with people. And I want to say he was top 5 at Remax in his first year in the business.
Unreal.
I mean, and that's that same thing. If you're brand new, you can still kill it. I mean, you really can. This market isn't like a closed society where no one gets in. To me, the people that make it are the ones that get in there and hustle. You know, do something, set yourself apart, get out there and hustle, and, you know, put the time into it. You can't just, you know, kick back and, you know, where's that deal coming? Boy, my phone's not ringing. You
Twiddling your thumbs, waiting for it.
Wow, why am I not making 6 figures? I thought this real estate gig was easy, right? So you got to really put the time into it and, you know, go for it. And, you know, and it's just so fun to work with these top agents, like, you know, Michelle Fisher over at Remax. Just have been an absolute joy with her. And I reached out to her like 5 years ago. She was the listing agent on a deal. And, you know, I saw her email. It had like 85 different things that she's, you know, gotten her education in. You know, she's every type of negotiation you can, VA specialist and all that stuff. And to watch what her business has done over the past several years, it's just amazing.
Unreal.
But everyone says the same thing about her. She knows her game. She is incredible to work with, you know, and she just gets the job done. And it's just awesome that, you know, and to get the chance to work with these kind of unbelievable other titans. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me that I get to be like, you know, that blessed and everything else.
You mentioned so many, and just so all the other fellow titans, I mean, I think you mentioned maybe 6 or 7 different titans that have already been featured on the series. So if you're paying attention, just look up those names that Bryan has been shouting out. Just go to the Titans page. You'll see their episode. You can really dive in to get to know them as well. So
the other 36, I'm sorry.
That's right. Sorry, everybody. The list will be down below at some point. So, but Bryan, this has been fantastic. This has been chock full of information. I cannot wait to just consume this just like everybody else, but I do want to jump into this bad boy. So let's go through the last question before we wrap this up and then have a really awesome time in the car. If you could take a look at your entire brand, you as a man, you as a professional, and sum yourself up with a quote or a mantra that you live by, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I thought about that in the past, and I've never really, you know, had that little email click or whatever. But, you know, just in my mind, though, I do try to always remember that you never know who's watching you. Always. And we talked about that earlier today. And it is truly crazy to see, you know, who sees you or any of those other things. Like, you know, I was telling you, like, you know, with the Tesla, you know, I had parked up in Rock Rimmon at the, you know, the Nam Thai restaurant up there. And, you know, someone had taken a picture of the Tesla and posted it and made a comment that it was the, you know, the team colors of their real estate company.
Colors,
You know, their company colors. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, they loved it. And it was Exit Realty on that one. And she had made some comment about it. And, like, you know, within a minute, someone had tagged Crystal in it already and was like, is that your car?
Oh, wow.
And so
crazy
stuff. And then, you know, the way you drive around town, or if you're seen, or, you know, just, you know, someone was at a closing, or, you know, something was said, or you didn't hold the door open for someone, or if you were, you know, snotty or rude to your server at a restaurant. You would be so surprised about who's watching you. I had a closing last week, and of course I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he works over at Remax. And when we had our closing, and Tulio was the buyer's agent, he had told Tulio that I had done his fourplex purchase for him back in 2001, 17 years ago. And he remembered. I did another loan for him as well after that. And, you know, he remembered. Now he's a really good producer over at Brian Vale's office at Remax. And, you know, but he remembered that 17 years ago that I did his loan for him. And the neat thing is, at closing, he told us that he took that offer on that home because the buyer's agent was Tulio, and because Northpointe was the lender, over some other deals, because he knew it was going to go to closing. And to me, that's the kind of reputation that you need to get to, is, you know, you getting to that level. I think it just says, you know, just huge stuff. You know, when you're in a competing situation, you know, you're instead of using some off-brand internet lender, you know, you're getting the local lender, you're getting the local agent, and all of that stuff. So I just think that that's such a huge, powerful, you know, piece kind of a deal, because you do, you know, you could be at Target and someone cuts in line in front of you. You might not be that person, that you know, or whatever, but maybe 2 people behind you is a past client of yours.
Sure.
You know, gosh, you're furniture shopping and you want to sneak into that parking spot, and that other person's like, that was my spot or whatever, and then all of a sudden it comes to be this huge issue there. That might have been a past client of yours. Or
Sure.
how embarrassing, you know, you're rushing to work, you cut someone off at a stop sign, and all of a sudden you meet that person 5 minutes later as they come in to see you for loan application. You're like, oh gosh,
Oops.
I just cut you off, right?
Right.
So I think those kind of deals to really always think about that, you know, no
Okay.
matter where you are. Like I said, you know, restaurants and stores and, you know, varsity sports, my goodness.
Sure.
I've gone
Oh,
to
yeah.
so many games. My son plays lacrosse
Oh, cool.
for Pine Creek, and just hearing some of the parents, you know, screaming at the players or screaming at the referees and all that stuff. And I'm just like, you know, wow, what if that, you know, is a future client, or that was me and a future client was, you know, 2 people over, and all of a sudden they're like, I remember you. You were that guy at that Pine Creek game that was yelling at that referee. Wasn't that you?
Right.
Probably not the best situation to be in.
For
So
sure.
I think that kind of stuff is huge.
Love it.
And then hopefully, you know, coming across, you know, humility and super blessed. Again, I don't think there's anything I personally do to achieve this stuff except for work really hard and, you know, listen to people who are smarter than me. And I think those are some of the really crucial things, is, you know, open mind, open mind. One of the things I get from so many loan officers is when a realtor calls me and says, hey, I got a deal, but XYZ at XYZ Bank says no one can do this deal if they can't do it. If I can't do this deal, no one can. And it's like the simplest deal in the world to do. Like,
What do you
it was
mean?
so easy.
Yeah.
So, you know, to never have that, you know, like there was a loan the other day we couldn't do. It was a, you know, a trailer with 3 people living in these like storage sheds on the property. You know, the appraiser called us and said, dude, there's no way we can do this. It's like a 4-plex trailer, single wide in Pueblo.
Wow.
Nothing we could do.
Huh.
You know, so I just told her, hey, this one's out of our hands. You know, see if you can find someone else. Another one of my buddies, you know, kicked it over to him. They just had the 3 people move out of those units, put them back to storage units.
Sure.
So now when the VA appraiser came for the next appointment, there weren't 3 people living on property. It was just a single trailer with 3 storage sheds. So instead of me, you know, pounding my feet saying no one can do this deal, I'm like, try someone else. So I kind of want to keep that in mind, you know, that, you know, you never know what someone else can or cannot do, who's watching, you know, totally be a, you know, a learner of the game. And then the last piece I would say is, you know, pass it on. They always tell you, like in school, you know, you really know your craft when you can teach it. So, you know, you might know how to do algebra, biochemistry, organic chemistry, micro, all of those things, but until you can teach someone how to do that kind of stuff, that's when you really, really get to know your game, because you have to know your guideline. If you're sitting in front of a group of 50, 60, 70 realtors, then they're firing questions at you. Hey, what's the max closing cost? Hey, what's the loan to value? Can you use commission income? Can you use this? I've got a borrower with a 1099. You know, when they're throwing stuff at you, and you can literally reply back to them because you've studied the game like that and know it. I mean, I think that's huge, and that's the thing I would tell everybody all the time is, you know, go teach classes. You know, go to realtors. They're always looking for, you know, lenders to come in and teach a class on this or teach a class on that.
Sure.
And I think that is just huge to, you know, take your knowledge and pass it down to that next group of people, because you might have that little bit that they didn't even know you could do. You tell them that, and all of a sudden you help them get a deal done.
Wow.
And I think that just can be so huge, so that other person that you just don't know is there. You have no idea that they were out there watching or reading your post, or, you know, seeing how you interact in public or other title companies and stuff. So, you know, that's pretty exciting. Like the closing we had today, such a fun closing. You know, first time home buyers on our side. And, you know, with Mark and Ryan, it was just such a fun closing. And Mark Davis had a brand new realtor with him. And so he got to see how fun closing can be is. And, you know, everyone knew each other, and, you know, we knew Patty, the closer, and it's like, it was just such a neat event, and that agent, brand new, was like, man, this looks fun.
All right,
I
yeah,
like this. This is going to be cool. So, because my first couple of closings were just, I just sat in the back of the corner.
Try not to make too much noise.
Try not to make any noise.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need to sign this. Oh, okay, let me sign this document, and then I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. So, but these were just super, super fun closings and all that kind of stuff. So I just think that's just awesome stuff.
Bryan, this has been fantastic. I know everybody out there their brains are probably exploding at this point with all the information, and I'm sorry we went a little longer than usual, but Bryan, you had so much information to give, so thank you so much for taking your time. You are an official real estate titan, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
For sure. So I'm really excited, and everybody stay tuned because we are going to be jumping into this beast right behind us here pretty soon, so that video will be in the comments down below. But as always, thanks so much for your time and attention, your love and support. I really appreciate that. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, different Titan, different location. We'll catch you guys on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
After dark.
This is live, everybody. This is what happens. And we should be good. Almost.